This is Meet the Legion. And this is a program that we've had for a while that we're trying to work on and fine tune. So today I want to give you a brief history of some of the major events within the American Legion. I'll talk about some of our programs, and then at the very end, I'll give you the opportunity to ask some questions of these fine gentlemen up here with me. How many of you ever heard of the American Legion before you started getting involved with Wish State? So there's a bunch of you, and that's good to know. Because I know with a lot of the public today, they think the American Legion is a place in town where veterans go to hang out, tell war stories, and drink beer, or maybe play some slot machines or something. Trust me, the American Legion is a lot more than that. And hopefully throughout this week, you will learn that. If you have any questions, if you want to know anything, if you have the time, take a moment and pull one of the Legionnaires aside and say, hey, can I talk to you for a couple minutes? And just ask them whatever questions about life experience, about their time in the military. Yes, sir.
How many times have you been mistaken for a member of the VFW?
Me personally, never, because their hats are brown.
Never.
Ours are blue or red or white, and then occasionally you'll see some that are like blue and white. And then the Sons of the American Legion are a light blue, almost a denim color, and the Legion Riders don't have covers as of yet. So anyway, I'm going to go with a brief history. The American Legion was founded in Paris, France in 1919 by the World War I veterans to help provide for wounded, disabled veterans and brothers, the children and orphans of those who made the ultimate sacrifice, and to help streamline government agencies overseeing veterans' health care. The first caucus was held on March 15th through the 17th in 1919 in Paris, France. Later in December of that year, the first post in France was founded in Paris, and that post is still in existence today. There are 55 what we call departments. We don't call them state organizations. 55 departments. All 50 states, the department or the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico, Mexico, the Philippines. Which one am I forgetting? Guam. Yeah. Yeah. So the official name of the American Legion was adopted during the St. Louis caucus on May 8th through the 10th of 1919, and the first convention was held in Minneapolis, Minnesota from November 10th through November 12th, 1919. Indianapolis was chosen to be the location of the national headquarters instead of Washington, D.C. The reason for that had nothing to do with wanting to get away from Washington. What it boiled down to is the train system back in 1990. It's not like today where you get on an airplane or you get on the interstate, get somewhere real quick. So the main mode of travel was by train. Well, most of the trains, almost all the train lines in the country went through Indianapolis. So it was easy for Legionnaires to get there. But the main deciding factor was the city of Indianapolis donated the land and built the building, the first national headquarters for the American Legion. So that's the reason they voted to have it there. One of the first resolutions passed by the American Legion in their first convention was the support of the Boy Scouts of America. So the Boy Scouts was the first program that the American Legion stepped up to support, and we still support them to this day. In August of 1921, through efforts of the American Legion, the U.S. Veterans Bureau, the forerunner for the Veterans Administration, was formed. Today, the American Legion continues to lobby Congress for adequate funding for medical disability education and other benefits for our veterans. June 15, 1923, the U.S. Flag Code was drafted by the American Legion, and it was adopted by Congress in 1942. The Flag Code covers all the proper etiquette of handling the American flag, what you can use it for and what you can't use it for. So if you have any questions, refer to the Flag Code. And any good American Legion post will have several copies of the Flag Code for you to look at whenever you like. July 1925, American Legion Baseball was founded. Currently, over 50% of Major League Baseball players playing today played American Legion Baseball. June 1st, I skipped a line there. June 23rd, 1935. Can anybody guess what happened on June 23rd, 1935?
First Boy State,
Correct. Where was it at?
Springfield, Illinois.
Correct. What county are you from?
DuPage County.
No, I mean in Boy State.
I know.
You know, okay.
Clark County.
Okay,
Do you know where that was held at in Springfield?
I think it was the state fairgrounds.
correct. Okay, June 1st, 1938, the first national high school oratorical contest was conducted in Norman, Oklahoma. In 1944, on June 22nd, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed into law the GI Bill, originally known as the Servicemen's Readjustment Act. That's a big one for veterans, and that's what helps pay for the education, et cetera, after you get out of the military. September 1st, 1966, the American Legion began pushing for a full accounting of all POWs and MIAs unaccounted for. There are many more outstanding accomplishments that the Legion has done since then and during those periods. They're all available online if you ever want to look and see what they are. Some of the programs that we have other than Premier Boy State, we have Illinois Illini Girls State that's sponsored through the auxiliary, but the auxiliary is part of what we call the American Legion family, which is the American Legion, the auxiliary, the Sons of the American Legion, and the American Legion Riders. We also have the oratorical contest, which I mentioned. We have an essay contest. Again, most of that is sponsored. The essay contest is through the auxiliary, but most Legion posts help support that. We have American Legion Baseball. There's American Legion Shooting Sports. We have so many different scholarships that are available through the Child Welfare Foundation. The American Legion Legacy Scholarship is a fund that was started after 9/11. That any veteran, it started off originally, any veteran that was killed in action after 9/11, dependent of that veteran was eligible for up to $20,000 scholarship. Well, we raised so much money with that, they lowered the requirements to anybody that was 50% disabled or more prior to or after 9/11, and then they backed it up to include Desert Shield and Desert Storm. So descendants of those veterans are entitled up to $20,000 of scholarship a year, and that fund has been, basically, it'll be around forever, because there's over $18 million in that account, and it's been invested so that it keeps growing. We average spending less than $75,000, no, I'm sorry, $250,000 a year on the scholarships. So it'll be around for a long time. We still do the fundraising, but it's not going to the legacy, or just to that scholarship anymore. It's gonna go to our other programs. There's so many other programs that I could sit and mention. If you have any questions, if you know of any of them, let me know, and we can give you more information. Now I'm just gonna turn it over to you guys, and you can ask questions of any of the gentlemen up here before you. Ask them what they did in the military, what they learned, whatever you would like to know. Just be careful of the answer you may get.
So I'm planning to go into the National Guard after high school. Will I be eligible to join the American Legion, even if I'm still active duty?
Yes, you will, as long as once you get orders cut to go to basic training, which you will, you serve your first day of basic training, you will become eligible to join American Legion as long as you will receive a honorable discharge from the state.
Yeah, what were your jobs in the military?
Well, this gentleman and I, it's how small the world is, young men. We were both at Fort Hood in 1969, and we didn't find out until the other day, just yet today, I seen a pin on his hat, an armor pin. I was in the 1st Armored Division, he was in the 2nd. And so, my last job was I trained my platoon in tanks. We had a complete brigade there, and I was platoon sergeant. And we graduated them on October 31st. They passed and reviewed to the post of general commander, so that's my last job.
what'd you do?
I was in the U.S. Coast Guard. I spent 22 years in the United States Coast Guard, all over the country. My main job was driving boats. I drove small boats, did search and rescue, did law enforcement. The Coast Guard's the one branch of the service that we can actually conduct law enforcement inside the United States.
What is the toughest branch to get into? Like the boot camp is like absolute hell.
Well, that would be the Marine Corps.
Marines don't play. They are serious.
Toughest to get into, as far as like having ASVAB scores and doing things like that, would probably be now there's Space Force or whatever, the Space Force, yeah, or probably the Coast Guard or the Air Force.
Thank you. Where are you all from, and what did you all do after leaving the military?
Well, I'm from Chicago, Illinois.
I'm sorry.
Well, you know what? You're all from Chicago one way or another. Your ancestry really well. My name is Bernard Polite. I served in the Army, 1 year in Vietnam and 2 years stateside. And what I did overseas, I supplied the infantry ammunition, food, clothing, and mail. That was my responsibility over there. When I got out of the military, coming from Vietnam, I wasn't too together. So I had to spend a little time to sort of just like get my head back on my shoulders. So I took like small jobs, you know, just to kind of readjust to civilian life. But after that, I went back to college, and I went to a 2-year college, got a degree in music, harmony, music, third harmony, which was great. Met a wonderful woman that I've been married to for 53 years. One thing I do want to say about the military. I'm not recruiting anybody, but I just want to tell you, the military is a great life. Okay, it's really very important that you experience that type of discipline. I mean, from what I've seen here, since I've been here, you guys are pretty sharp. I've been listening to you, your answers and your questions. I've been going to your different departments, and you guys are going to make a difference. You know, you may not think you are, but you are. My only challenge for you is when you leave this place, when you leave Boyd State, think about what you learned here and value it. You know, think about the opportunities and how you could make a difference in your community. I think anybody live in Cook County here? From Cook County? Okay, you already know that you can go home and look on your website and see opportunities, right? So take advantage of that. I've said enough.
When I get out of the military, I was kind of like Gerard. I had to kind of refocus on what was important in life, and I done a little partying more. I thought I didn't have enough of it done, so I went. But I finally, Dad said one day, he said, "You making any money?" Well, not much, but he said, "Are you spending a lot of money?" I said, "No, I'm spending what I'm making." He said, "Well, I think it's time you get on that tractor and start doing a little work around here." So that helped me get started, and I left the family farm and went to different farms, and after that kind of got me back on track. Why I got hired with General Motors, and I started in Danville, Illinois. Spent 11 years in the foundry. They transferred me to St. Louis, and I spent about 6-8 years in that parts warehouse, and then they made a gypsy out of me. Then they moved me to Mississippi, and I finished my retirement there. And I wanted to stay, and my wife, the grandkids, and you'll find that not only does your wife You guys are putting a great show on, the color guards and stuff and everything, so just enjoy yourself. Thanks for coming.
I'm Larry Miller. I was born and raised in Michigan, in the original Coast Guard City, USA, Grand Haven, and he probably knows about it.
Been there many times.
And when I was a junior in high school, I decided I was going to go in the Air Force because I couldn't afford college. And in the military, after 4 years, I was going to find a 4-year college degree. Then it was free. Now, as a military member, you contribute to the Montgomery Area GI Bill. But it's, I don't remember what the ratio is, but you contribute a small amount, the government gives you more money. So if you're looking at college, you can't afford, consider the military. Anyway, I didn't want to go into Coast Guard because all the coasties were there and they had the money and they were getting all the girls. We didn't have any dates, so I said, I don't like the Coast Guard. And besides, my dad's a World War II Air Force veteran, so I went in the Air Force. Spent 21 years in the Air Force, not all at once. I had a little break. I maintained cryptographic equipment. Now, some of you know that you can do algorithms in a computer and little chips. Our machines were big things, would run vacuum tubes, and you run a teletype machine into it and encrypt it, and went out. The bad guys couldn't read what was going on. It was all classified equipment. I had my training at Lackland Air Force Base. My first assignment was Fuchu Air Station, Japan. From Japan, I went to Vietnam. When I came back from Vietnam, I had less than 6 months, so the Air Force discharged me. I was working for a phone company, kind of like Ron, partying a little bit, and living paycheck to paycheck. Coast Guard, not Coast Guard, sorry. The phone company said we're going to go on strike. I couldn't afford a strike. So one day on the way home, I went by a strip mall, it was an Air Force recruiter, and I went back in the Air Force. So from there, I went to Travis Air Force Base in California, back to Lackland in Texas for more training, and over to Turkey. Spent 15 months in Turkey. Came back to Omaha to Offutt Air Force Base. Met my wife there. We got married there, and then we went to Washington, D.C. I worked for 3 years in the Defense Communications Agency, a joint service an activity. From there, we went to Spain. 2 of my 3 kids were born in Spain, Spanish citizen, American citizen. From Spain, we came back to Scott Air Force Base. Scott Air Force Base, down to Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma, where it's been 5 years. Now, I said I maintained cryptographic equipment as I went up in rank, and I became a supervisor, and I ran shops that had 60 maintenance technicians in them. I was a superintendent for that. So I retired. My wife said, I'm not going to go live in Michigan. I said, I'm not going to go live in Nebraska. So we ended up halfway between them in the St. Louis area. So that's where we live now, in Edwardsville, Illinois. After retirement, I started working for the Postal Service. I didn't carry mail. I didn't touch the mail. I maintained the equipment that processed the mail. I used to joke that I sharpened the blades for the machine that cut the top of it. That was a joke. We didn't really have that kind of machine. When the electronic machines jam, they just make a mess of your mail. That's our job, my job. So I retired from the Air Force. I didn't get it right, so I had to go work again. The family said they wanted to eat, then I retired twice. And I've been retired since 2011. I'm a life member of the American Legion. I'm a life member of the Veterans of Foreign Wars. I'm a life member of the Vietnam Veterans Association, a life member of American Veterans and Vets. I'm a life member of the Air Force Sergeants Association, the Air Force Association, Non-Commissioned Officers Association. Why do I join all these and bring them up? Because I feel veterans need to have the rights of the veterans need to be addressed. And also the junior enlisted personnel, you're not aware of it, but right now Congress is, and the National Defense Authorization Act is going to raise their rate of pay 18%. So these are the kind of things that we advocate for. The quality of life for the younger enlisted people, and make sure that they're ready to fight the war. The American Legion was founded on 4 principles. One is veteran services, children and youth, Americanism, and a strong national defense. So we need to make sure that we're ready to go to war. We weren't ready at World War I, we weren't ready at World War II. But if we can keep the enlisted people happy, they're the ones that are going to be going out there and fighting the war. So that's what I do, and that's why I'm involved in the American Legion for veterans activities. And so like everybody else, thank you very much for being here. We change things in the American Legion through resolutions. I don't know if you've heard about resolutions now. We change things in the American Legion through resolutions. You get things changed in the government through laws. I'm for the Department of Illinois, I'm the vice chairman for the Department Legislative Commission. We kind of keep track of laws and encourage the lawmakers to support those laws. Thank you very much. Sorry, I didn't want to be long.
I have a question about the military, like if you're joining, trying to join them. Is there an alternative, like for people who are just more like academic researchers, or like mathematician or accountant?
I mean, there's different jobs you can do within the military. You know, like there's a lot of, like you did crypto. There's all kinds of different things. Now, I mean, unless you go to one of the service academies, you know, at West Point or Annapolis or the Air Force Academy, Coast Guard Academy. I mean, they have engineering degrees. You can get all different kinds of things through those services. So, if you want to be an officer and you know, study engineering, mathematics, that would be, it would almost have to be through one of the academies.
Thank you.
If you join and enlisted, you kind of get the job that they need, kind of need for
Yeah,
at the time.
yeah.
Let's go ahead and let Matt finish his story.
Oh.
I'll tell you a little bit, and then we'll go on to some more questions.
Okay, yeah. I spent, like I said, I spent 22 years in the U.S. Coast Guard. I grew up in a small town here in Illinois called Catlin. Nobody probably heard of it, over by Danville, Illinois. Right where Ron grew up. I grew up on a farm, went to college for a couple of years, decided, I don't know, this college thing, I was doing more partying than I was going to class. So I ended up, me and a buddy of mine, we joined U.S. Coast Guard back in 1987. I spent the next 22 years. I retired in 2008. I was all over the country, Washington State, Florida, did drug interdiction, I did aids to navigation, I did marine science stuff with the environment, you know, protecting the environment, going on oil spills and things like that. You know, I was down at Hurricane Katrina, getting folks out of their houses. I was boots on the ground about 12 hours after Katrina went through New Orleans. So, getting people out of their homes and things like that. So I've done a lot. Like I said, I did drug interdiction down in the Caribbean, you know, seasoned cocaine, marijuana, things like that. So I've done a little bit of everything. I did search and rescue, and I spent my last probably 10 years on the Great Lakes. I was either in Chicago area or in Sheboygan. I retired in 2008 up in the Chicago area. I live in, but I'm unlike these guys, I live in Indiana. So I got out of Illinois and moved over across the state line. So I live in Crown Point, Indiana, which is not far from Chicago. Like I said, I retired in 2008, and I went into doing what I learned in the Coast Guard. I did environmental work, safety. So I'm the director for all of the emergency services. I work for a pipeline company. We move product, gasoline, diesel fuel, jet fuel. We have pipelines running all through Illinois, from St. Louis to Chicago, and from Chicago all over the country. So I cover an area from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, all the way out to Omaha, Nebraska, Kansas City. So we have terminals, all them big tanks you see, big white tanks full of gasoline. That's what I oversee now. So it was a great job. You know, the military trained me to, you know, I didn't have to go to college. I ended up going back to college on the GI Bill, like he was saying. You know, it's a great program. Paid in $100 a month the first year I was in the military. So it cost me a total of $1,200. When I got out, it was right around $60,000 to go to college on. And I did an online college. I was already pretty much out. And they paid me, well, I was working, I had a job, like a salary, and they paid me to go to school, because I take 2 classes. They were paying me. They paid for my college, plus they were paying me for like housing while I was going to college. So I got a check every month from the government to live at home. So I tell you that if you think about it, the GI Bill is a great program if you're thinking of looking into
short and sweet so we can ask more questions. First of all, for those of you that weren't in here earlier, my name is John Reese. I'm currently the vice chairman for Premier Boys State. I served in the United States Air Force for 14 years. I spent 9.5 months over in the desert during Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Shortly after I got back, my enlistment was up. I didn't want to go back and do that again. So the FAA, I was an air traffic controller, by the way. I was in a combat communications group in the desert. So the FAA offered me a job. It tripled my salary overnight. I didn't have to go play in the sand or get shot at anymore. So I got out and I spent 23 years in the FAA, and I retired in 2015. I've been retired since, and I do a lot with the American Legion. The reason I do what I do, the reason I'm here, is I'm very passionate about veterans, my brothers and sisters. We need to take care of each other. But I'm also very passionate about our youth, because you guys are the future of our country. And we need to teach you everything that we know that's good. The bad stuff you're gonna learn on your own, because that's just the way it goes. But we're here to help guide you and teach you along the way. If you have any questions during the program, while you're here, don't hesitate to ask one of us. We're not, we're all old, and a lot of us have gray hair and whatnot. Don't let that stop you, because we love talking to you guys. We love helping you. We want you to have a good experience. And for those of you that are wondering, yes, I am Santa Claus.
Yes.
For 24 years, my youngest son, who went to Boys State in 2017, his first Christmas before he was even 1 year old was the first time my ex-wife bought me a Santa Claus suit, and I've been doing it ever since. So, and again, it's for children. Anything to make a child smile and be happy, that's what it's all about. So, who else has a question for any of these gentlemen? Yes, sir.
I mean, it's like super broad, but like, what do you guys like? What's like the greatest piece of advice you could like give like to our generation? I don't know.
Who wants to take that one?
I don't know.
No,
Say
it's,
it again.
Like,
Ask it again.
the best piece of advice you have for like our generation.
Think for yourself.
Learn how to serve other people.
Yeah.
Make a difference in somebody else's life.
servant leadership.
Yeah.
Be the best you can teach.
But that's an Army thing, isn't it?
No, that's
Sure
be
beats
all
you,
you
didn't
can
it?
be.
Yeah, the Marines are still looking for a few good men. I don't know where they're gonna find them. I guess they've been asking for them for 25 years, but they'll use them, so I don't know.
There's not-
Funny thing is, we usually have a Marine in here for this, so,
I'm still
we
saying.
don't have one, so.
One of the things in the military service is that the Army doesn't like the Air Force and the Navy
No,
doesn't
don't
like the
believe
Coast
that.
Guard.
Don't believe that. That's not true.
There's a lot of inter-service rivalry. When we're together, we'll jab each other, it's just like in school, you know, or in family. You jab at each other when you're at home, but you come against any one of us and we're a team. And that's,
If you get one, you get all 5 of us.
including Marines, who's not here.
Yeah, well.
But they can say those.
We'll let him lead.
What you learned from this program this week, please take it back to your schools, to the juniors that are gonna next year. And hopefully, you'll have a positive outlook from your week here. So, we're trying to get these numbers back up. I've been coming here, this is my 30th year here. I was in Boys State back in 1983. So, and I've been coming back. I had to miss a few years during my military service, but this is my 30th year on the counseling staff here. So I was a city counselor, I was a county counselor like you guys have now. I did that for many years, and a couple years ago I stepped down as a county counselor and come over to the administrative staff. But our numbers, back when I came here in the 80s, was 1,200. And then that went all the way through the 90s and 2000s, then we started to slide off, and there's about 200 of you here this week. We need to get them numbers back up, so, anything you can do to help, it would be tremendous. Promote the program within your schools, or your neighboring schools, or if you know someone that has attended the program, please, add that on in, so.
Is anybody aware see that? Okay, well, talk to the Post that sponsored you about those gold cards. And what the card is a scholarship to come to Boys State, okay? What I was encouraged to do, not only give them to juniors going into their senior year, but also give them to sophomores that are going into their junior year. That'll give them, encourage them to be ready for Boys State and encourage them to tell their other classmates about this program, even though they have to wait a whole year. So that's just a little suggestion that you might want to take home with you.
How many of you, mother, father, veteran, or grandfather, veteran, have you ever heard of the Sons of the American Legion? You ever hear of the Sons of the American Legion? How many of you are members? Anybody a member of the Sons? See me, I got pins from our state commander. I'll pass on to you. The Sons of the American Legion, as John said earlier, there's 4 elements in the American Legion family. There's the Legion, the Auxiliary, the Sons of the American Legion, and the Legion Rider. Sons of the American Legion is an opportunity for you to get involved in things, in helping your posts. One of the money-raising things that the Sons of the American Legion does is for the Child Welfare Fund. Since 1985, they've earned over $10 million to donate to this Child Welfare Fund. It's just one of the many things that we do. The Sons also help the post in events and so forth. And the other thing that I really want to talk about is, anybody like public speaking? High school oratorical contest is where you need to enroll in. The national winner is a $25,000 college scholarship. It's tough. You have to give an 8 to 10 minute speech on some aspect of a citizen's responsibility as defined in the Constitution. An 8 to 10 minute speech with no notes. You got to just do it off the top of your head. I was an escort for a speech contest one time, and all the students are over against the wall doing this. I couldn't figure out what they're doing. They were practicing their speech. They're talking to the wall. It was kind of interesting. But you give that 8 to 10 minute speech, typically in the department, the state, it's held in March, early in March, and then each division will have a contestant too. The state is divided into 5 divisions. So you give the 8 to 10 minute speech. There's also 4 other topics that you do a 3 to 5 minute speech on. And each of those topics is an aspect of an amendment to the Constitution. We talk about the amendment. You don't have to talk about all 4 of them. And at the contest, they'll draw an envelope, and one of those 4 will be chosen. So you'll know what these 4 topics are going to be, so you can, as you're preparing, and prepare something in the back of your mind. If this was chosen, I might say this. If this is chosen, I might say that. And after they choose it, they give you 5 minutes to go prepare. So it's a great program for anybody in high school, junior, freshman. That's where you start, right? Freshman, 9th to 12th grade. So
Actually, there's some districts and divisions that start at junior high school.
I think national would have to be high school.
Yeah, the national one, but like in the 11th district, we have a junior high oratorical to get the kids ready so that when they get to the high school level, they can participate.
And one of the things about the golden ticket that was mentioned, when first introduced in the Legion, by some school, every year the Legion presents school awards. A certain post in the Legion will do it. In Edwardsville, we have 7 schools that we present school awards to, and it's for the student that exhibits certain characteristics, some courage and leadership and academic stuff, and I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. But the idea with this golden ticket was, on the 8th graders, when they got their school award, they were given a golden ticket saying, you're eligible now to go to boys state, girls state. So that's where that came from, and it's a great program.
There's an alumni from Boise State. He's actually a counselor. He's here this week. He's not with us today because he wasn't feeling well yesterday, so he spent the night at another location. Hopefully he'll be back with us today. He's the one that came up with the golden ticket. His name's Carter Corsello, and it was based on, remember, I know all you guys have seen some version of Willy Wonka. Well, that's where the gold ticket came from. And it did used to say scholarship program on it, but we changed it because there was some confusion with some of the Legion posts about who was gonna pay for the program, because they were scholarship, so we changed it to sponsorship. So, but there are, if you guys can get a hold of some of them, don't be bashful, give them out to the kids in your high school when you talk about the program. So, any other questions? Let's get some good questions.
They're all good for it.
Well, I know, but hard questions, that's what I meant to say. Go ahead.
I want to be a pilot when I grow up, a commercial pilot, and I've been thinking about for you two, for joining the Air Force, partly for like, I don't know, I just want to know like what is the jobs in there, because I don't think, I know that like obviously the military is like, you know, going out and fighting against people, but I don't think I'm personally comfortable with like killing people. I was wondering what other jobs there were in the Air Force, for like flying or stuff like that.
And when you be a pilot in the Air Force, you have to have a college degree.
Okay.
Going to an academy, for instance, gets you a college degree too. I don't know about vision requirements, you're wearing glasses, depending on what it is, if it's correct for the 2020, I think you could fly certain airplanes. You may not be able to fly fighters, but there's a wide variety of airplanes. We've got cargo aircraft and bombers and fighters and so forth. First of all, you need to get a college degree. The second thing, talk to an Air Force recruiter or Coast Guard recruiter. Coast Guard has aviation.
All branches have aviation.
They all have, yeah, some.
One thing to keep in mind of wanting to be a pilot, when you're a certified pilot with one of the branches of the military, you're certified through the military. You're not certified through the FAA. So that's a different process once you get out and get hired. The only ones that are certified are air traffic controllers and certain mechanics are certified by the FAA. Why that is, I have no idea, because flight training to me is flight training. If you can fly a C-141 or C-140, whatever they call them nowadays, I've been out for a long time. If you can fly one of those, you can fly one of these air carriers for sure.
I think one of the differences is flying an air carrier passenger plane is a lot different than flying a fighter.
Just a little bit.
The rules that you have when you're flying a fighter in combat are a little bit different than what the FAA is going to require. So that's why it's kind of not transferable.
Yeah, that reminds me of a quick.
However, airlines will snap you up and then they'll make sure that you can serve.
Yeah, they are. I heard a story one time from an airline pilot, and he was up flying one day, and there were some fighters not far from him, and they were talking to each other back and forth on the radio, and the one fighter pilot says, well, can you, and they were talking about what they can do and how fast they can go and this, that, and the other, and one pilot of I believe he was an F-14 pilot, says, well, watch this, and he did some aerobatic stuff and this, that, and the other, talking about he can go Mach 1.8, blah, 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 and the commercial airline pilot says, well, watch this, and then they were silent for about 3 minutes, and he comes back on the radio and he says, what do you think about that? And the fighter pilot's like, well, I didn't see anything, what'd you do? And he said, I got up, went to the back, and went to the bathroom, got a cup of coffee, came back and buckled in. Let me see you try that one. So, all right, what other questions you guys got? Back here.
So from my MLS, I'm planning to go for military police. If I do that, will I be the most hated guy in training nowadays?
No, but among the most, I don't want to say hated, but no, there's a lot of military police is not a bad, and again, it depends on the branch of the service you go in, because the training requirements are different. Because in the Air Force, they have military police, and they have air police, or they did, I don't know if it's still the same way.
They don't call them air police. There's security police, but then there's law enforcement and
The security guys, yeah. There's the security forces are the guys that are the guards on the aircraft, and this, that, and the other. The law enforcement are the ones that drive around in the cars and give you speeding tickets and this, that, and the other. So there is a difference between the two. I don't know about the other branches.
No, they're all about the same, Navy, Army, yeah.
So, if I joined the Marines, because that's kind of my, like, not 100%, that's like my main plan right now for after high school, would I be able to
I came through, there wasn't. Now the GI Bill has become transferable. I don't know if it, how, you'd have to check with someone. Like, when I came through, I couldn't give it to my kids or my wife. Now you can. It's transferable if you didn't use your GI Bill. You know, people that came in after I did, from, I wanna say it's around 2000, over the last 20 years, like 25 years, you come in after a certain date, that GI Bill, if you didn't use it all or decided not to use it, you can transfer it to a sib, or a, I don't know about siblings, I know kids and spouses.
Family members, they say family members, that's something you'd have to.
Yeah, you'd have to
VA.
check the VA, yeah.
Be careful when you ask that question and who you ask, because if you go to see a recruiter and ask him, first of all, don't believe a word that comes out of a recruiter's mouth. Okay? Because they're gonna tell you, oh yeah, you're gonna have plenty of breaks, you can bring your tennis racket, you can go swimming, you can do all this kind of stuff when you're done for the day. Well, the day isn't over from the day you get there to the day you graduate. So all that tennis playing and swimming pool, and when I went to basic, there were guys that showed up with golf clubs and tennis rackets. I was just shaking my head because I come from a long line of prior military, so I already knew going into it what I was getting into. But don't trust the recruiters a whole lot. Ask a lot of questions. But I still like has been echoed by a couple of my brothers up here. The military is a good way to go. If you're not going to go to college, if you're not sure what you want to do, you can learn a career. You can learn something that can take you the rest of the way through your life. Not every job in the military is transferable to the civilian life, but there are a lot of them that are, and you can set yourself up for a long, happy life. So,
Yeah, like I said, if you're interested in electronics, electrical, things like that, computers, my company, we snap them up in a heartbeat.
check into Space Force too. That's a brand new service, and there's a big chance to grow it now.
There's one thing I haven't touched on or anybody has yet, and that's the Veterans Administration Hospital. When I got out, I don't know about these gentlemen, but I had no idea what any of my benefits and or benefits I had that were still available to me. Now, when you get out, I'm on the board of the Veterans Assistance Commission in Madison County, Illinois, down south. If you go to the military, when you get out, no matter how long you're in or whatever, within a 5-year period, that's all you got, you sign up for the VA. And that is something you earn. Nobody's giving you nothing. You earn this. But once that 5-year window closes, sorry about your luck. And I know from experience of young kids in my life and what's come out, I've carried them to the places and they still will not do it, and now they're wishing they had it because you don't know what injuries you might have or what have caused you that. And there's one that's tough that you can't even see, and my daughter's suffering from it right now. She was not in the military, but she was a paramedic for 15 years on an ambulance. PTSD is tough. And I'm not going to say it again. PTSD is tough. And if you don't sign up in that 5-year period, it may not show up in that 5-year period. But as long as you've signed up for the VA and it shows up one day, we'll get you there. And I heard this young man, Larry, tell him, be the one. Our national commanders the last 2 years, be the one. We have anywhere from 17 to 22 suicides a day from military people. And that's, if we lose one, it's too many. So just, if you don't make any other notes than today, if you go to the military, and all of you have been talking about it, when you decide to get out, go directly to the VA or BSO or whatever, and get signed up, and get your ID card, and get into the VA. And that's good the rest of your life.
And I think also, if you make that direction, stay in touch with
It's wicked
So
also.
it's one thing that you guys, while you come in here, you built your relationships up, right? So relationships are only gonna grow. So what we're looking for is positive relationships. Relationships that can make a difference in your home, in your community, and in your nation. So some of you guys might go in the military, some of you won't. But whatever you do the best you can do at it. And like, one of the things I always tell the principals and the students, I was in scouting for many, many, many years. And it was the slogan, it said, do your best. How many former scouts we got here, or scouts? Okay. So you know what it means to do your best. Do your best in what? In everything you do. And you'll make a difference. You'll make an impact. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So I know you guys talked about like how like there's a lot of benefits to being a veteran, but I was curious what you guys thought like the experience itself, like what it gave you guys in your life after serving.
I couldn't hear.
I could, repeat
Yeah,
that
just
question.
stand up,
Stand
say a
up,
little louder
repeat.
so they can hear.
We got an acronym.
Pretend with your friends, you know.
I know you guys said there was a lot of benefits in terms of like careers and stuff, but I was curious more about like the lessons and like what the experience taught you guys, like how you applied it to the rest of your life after that.
I'd start off with that one. The biggest thing I learned in the military is you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. Because you may be in the middle of nowhere sometime, there may be only 2 or 3 of you. Rely on your brothers, because they're what has your back. You know, you hear about serving God and country. You hear about going to war to, you know, because of our loved ones back home, and we're protecting freedom and independence and the Constitution and, you know, the flag and all this kind of good stuff. But anybody that's ever been spent an hour in combat knows the reason you're there and what you're fighting for is the guys next to you. That's what it's all about. You will learn a brotherhood and a devotion to one another that is second to none. And yes, we give each other crap on the different branches of the service that we're in. But we can do that because we wore the uniform. Let a civilian come up and start giving somebody some crap and see what happens.
They didn't earn that right.
Exactly. So the camaraderie, it also helps you grow up real fast because you're no longer living with mom and dad. You can't just say, hey, can I do this or can I have $5 for this? Because when your drill sergeant says, you're going to be up out of that bed at 4:30, we're going to go on a 3-mile hike or a 3-mile run. If you're not out of that bed outside in front of the barracks at whatever designated time, they're going to come throw you out of the bed. And then you're going to go on the hike in whatever you have on, well, even if it's your skivvies. So it can be rough. It can be, I don't know what are the words to use, but the reason it's that way is because they're getting you of the mindset to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So in the long run, the number one thing that you learn is when you start to work on a task, when you start something, you're gonna stick with it till you're done. Anybody else wanna?
I would say leadership's huge, something
Yeah.
you'll use throughout your entire life. Learn civility with other people. People come, I served with people all over the country, from different ethnic backgrounds, religious backgrounds. You learn to deal with all different types of people, different types of personalities, and the leadership roles you'll learn in the military, you know, will live with you the rest of your life. So you can, I can always tell someone that I work with, you can tell pretty quick if they've served in the military. Yeah, they just,
If I may,
yeah, go ahead.
I've been out 50 years, and I will say, I have not met a veteran that would not go back and do it again. So, is that correct?
Yeah.
We talked about leadership, as I indicated, when you start off as a lower enlisted grade if you enlist. If you're an officer, it's a different story, and I can't talk about that because I wasn't one. But as you go along, as you responsibility, that's where that leadership aspect comes in. So, like I said, at one point, I was just maintaining the graphic equipment, but as I grew and was promoted in the Air Force, I became the leader of other people. My goal for those other people was make sure that they did a good job. That's the way I lived. I made sure that they could get their job done, that they got what they needed. Then I might get a little bit of credit on me because my people were doing the good job. I was not afraid to recognize it. And that's something that you need to do regardless of what you do in your life. Don't be doing everything for yourself. Do it for your people that are working for you and around you. So,
Teamwork.
Just like when they sent me to Texas to finish out my year, and I trained these, like I said, we had a battalion of tanks. I was an E5, and that platoon sergeant was supposed to be an E6. And I thought they were throwing me into something I couldn't handle. Well, guess what? I made it. But I took care of those 40, they had 6 tanks. I took care of my 25 men. And I've been on them tanks in and out of them a lot, and I never asked any of them to do anything that I hadn't done. But if they come and said, I don't know, that's the way to go, because then we found out how to get it and get it done. Don't, because that thing saves your life. It was 52 ton combat ready. And it runs 40 mile an hour, 45 mile an hour.
All right, we're about out of time, so one last question.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the best thing to do if you have like a get pass? What would you do?
I'm not gonna answer that question.
You don't want us to answer that.
it depends on where you're at. If you're overseas, go out and see the culture. People I've done presentations at school, they said, what was your best assignment? My best assignment was here in the United States because this is home. When I was in Turkey, I didn't get out. Turkey has a lot of religious monuments and castles and things to see. Germany's got all kinds of historic things. Japan, I climbed Mount Fuji, I stood on the top of Mount Fuji. They say if you go to Japan, don't climb Mount Fuji once you're full, you climb it twice, you're bigger full. Because it's a rough climb going up. I was in Vietnam. When I was in Vietnam, I had an R&R and I went to Taiwan for 6 days. I went to Sydney, Australia for 6 days. So, to answer your question, what do you do when you get a pass? It depends on where you're at.
All right, I gotta dismiss you gentlemen, so you can go on to your next thing. Again, if you have other
Gentlemen.
questions,